Hi, my name is Nick,
And I'm Tony.
and this is Why Not Daily. Welcome to our very first episode. We have some clips online, but we've had some technical difficulties, life circumstances, but we're in. So, Tony, what's going on? How you doing?
Been good.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear it. So, before we get started, you want to let our viewers know what we're going to be talking about today? Yeah, we're figuring this out. It'll be fun. We'll be all right. Yeah, let's do that again. Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Tony.
And this is the first episode of Why Not Faith. We've shot a couple clips and tried some trial runs, but this is the first one that's going to make the air. So thank you for sharing this moment with us. Tony, want to give our viewers a little bit of a heads up on what we'll be talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about some hot topics, the little spicy ones that people sometimes don't like to talk about in the churches, like tattoos, alcohol, women in ministry, so on and so forth.
And we encourage you guys, if you have opinions, to put them in the comments as you're watching, get us going, because your opinion matters. And the whole purpose of this channel is to create a discussion about truth and chasing after truth and being your most authentic self. And we want to start by doing right by people, honestly. And this is just the start of it. And we acknowledge that there's different churches, denominations, maybe even families where you grew up who believe different things on many of these hot topics. But we want to just have a real discussion and find truth, because I don't think any denomination is necessarily right all the time. But I think
it's not a rule book, and we ain't trying to give you guys rule books or anything like that.
Exactly. So we're just trying to find the truth within the Bible and inform you guys and have real hot topics. We're not experts. We're just opinionated guys who bought a microphone and are trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
So like you said, no rule book. Everything we're saying is just our own opinion. Don't take it as truth. Question us. Call us out in the comments, whatever it takes. But open your own Bible and develop truth for yourself. But as we read this stuff today, I just hope, and listening and talking, I should say, look at what we say and ask yourself, how does that apply to you as a follower of Jesus today? So let's jump in. First, we're going to talk about tattoos. Tony, you got any tattoos?
No, I was born this way.
I got a little bit going on here too. So you might know a little bit about where we stand. Is there a way to get rid of that black spot? What's up with that? That's all right. But yeah, so you've probably heard someone in your day-to-day life saying Christians shouldn't get tattoos. The Bible says it's a sin. And usually they're pointing to Leviticus 19:28, which says, do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourself. I think it's really easy to say that was talking about marking your body in rituals and things of that nature.
They were talking about pagans too, doing it for worship. They were doing it in worship. They were doing it for certain gods and things like that. So
absolutely. And here's the thing. In that time, tattoos weren't the body art that we see today.
That's a fact.
Like I said, they were tied to pagan rituals, idol worship, and marking yourself for the dead. God was calling Israel to be different, set apart from the nations around them. So, I mean, if you guys are familiar with Isaiah Saldivar, I listen to him a lot. I'm a huge fan. He's awesome. I don't know. You know Isaiah? No, maybe not.
I'm going to check that out.
Isaiah has no tattoos. He's openly said he's wanted tattoos, thought about getting tattoos, but he's prayed about it, and God's kind of revealed to him, like, hey, this will affect who you're reaching. People will look down on you, think differently about you. And I guess the big thing to talk about is it probably depends on the calling on your life.
Definitely.
If you're called to reach dark places, if you're called to reach punk rockers, skater kids, and stuff like that, I mean, tattoos is part of the culture.
Yes, definitely.
And you could fit in with the culture. Obviously, nothing that imposes on your faith, but being real and authentic starts with your body and how you want to represent yourself. But at the same time, you got to be cognizant that people will judge you. And if that's something you care about, then don't get tattoos.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I got my tattoos, they were long thought process. In a sense, I didn't think about God in mind or anything like that. I was in the church. I did look at it. I did get presented with the verses in Leviticus and everything like that. But I didn't see that that's what it was talking about in the Old Testament, like what they were trying to say. And like, it's the way of the world. It's the culture. I'm not doing it as a ritual. I'm not doing it for pagan gods or a mourning of the dead or anything like that. It's like painting the walls of the cathedral or something like that.
So that's fair. So let's fast forward to the New Testament. There is no command about tattoos. Instead, Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. So the question becomes, does getting a tattoo honor God or not? Does your tattoo honor God or not? Well, then maybe your tattoos are saying, I see brass knuckles, brass knuckles. I guess it depends on when you got them.
Yeah. Love thy neighbor, though, with the brass knuckles.
My God. So for some, tattoos can be a testimony. Sometimes you get a verse, a cross, I get a cross, or something that sparks a conversation about your faith, which will ultimately open up doors with people, which is all we want to do. Open up doors, spread the gospel, spread the good news, spread the word.
And it's the same thing with like tattoos and stuff, because it was a part of culture. No one really thinks about it. I mean, people that gotten it weren't really thinking about it in religious aspects and stuff like that. I wasn't following the Lord whenever I got all my tattoos. I was an artist, and that's what artists did. I was also, angry and hurting. So a lot of psychologists say that a lot of people get tattoos because, they're masochists, or, it's for a pain ritual or something like that. And I could understand that. I was a very low point in my life, but for me, it was always art. Like I was in a drawing and painting, and when I got it, it was that time in the world where, tattoos could affect the job or stuff like that. Now it's nothing like that, but everybody would think you're either part of a gang or a biker.
Are you part of a gang?
No, definitely not. The gang of
I
Jesus.
swear I thought he was part of a gang. I thought that would be the clout that we needed to get this thing rolling. So
Gang of Jesus.
I'm mistaken. This is crazy. Maybe we should just not do this anymore. But yeah, so I'd like to say this. Sorry, I froze up for a second. That was awkward. We're going to try AI on this video, and hopefully they cut this out. And if not, this is going to be really awkward and uncomfortable, but you guys will be fine. But what I was going to say, so I'd like to say this. Tattoos in themselves are not automatically sinful, but we do have to check our heart. Is this about glorifying God, or is this about glorifying me? And remember, tattoos are permanent. Think about how it might Think about how it might affect your witness, your job, or even your future self. If you have questions or unsure about getting a tattoo, maybe you shouldn't get it. But if it's something that's meaningful, that means a lot to you personally, and you've been thinking about it for a long time, and you've really wanted this for a long time, and someone's always talked you out of it, but you always go back to it, maybe you should just do it.
Yeah, I think also if you're trying to glorify God, and it's something to glorify God, like what he said, he has some crosses and some Bible verses and things like that. That's always a beautiful thing, You're making something permanent and letting the world know like who you are. Like I walk with Christ and everything like that. So it's definitely, but like he said before, it could be God does everything for his own purpose and his own reasons. My purpose could be to go into the gutters and talk to people, to evangelize people because I look like them. And they won't feel so threatening. They won't look at me as they will look at someone who doesn't have any tattoos, or, is just like a straight church person.
Absolutely.
Or a church boy,
So I'd like to ask you guys a question, viewers. Do you think that tattoos can be a way to glorify God, or do you see them as dishonoring to the body? I'd love to hear your take.
Definitely.
Post it in the comments.
Next up, we're going to be talking about alcohol.
Drinking.
Getting swasty.
Or just a little bit.
Just getting a time.
Who knows? But we're going to talk about it.
Definitely.
So same thing. We'd love to see what you guys think, but this is what we think. These are our own personal opinions. We don't represent any church, any pastor, anybody but ourselves. These are what we think about alcohol.
Definitely. No right or wrong answers here.
Yes, but we are trying to start a debate. We're trying to get people talking. We're trying to ruffle feathers, and we're trying to make enemies or friends.
Right. I mean, some Christians say it's totally fine. Others think it's 100% sinful, haram.
So where can we find out the truth in the matter?
I mean, definitely I would probably search in the Bible.
The Bible. Yeah. We're going to check the Bible to talk about alcohol. Let's go. Well, first,
we all know
Jesus drank wine.
Yeah.
Ooh, shocker. Yeah. All right, we're getting a little out of hand. Let's try this a little bit better. But in fact, his first miracle in John 2 was turning water into wine at a wedding. I do want to say that from everything that I've gathered, that was very reluctant. He didn't want to, or was he excited about doing it? But people asked, they wanted to keep the party going. So Jesus made it happen. That's about it. Paul told Timothy, and Timothy, you can go 1 Timothy 5:23, to drink a little bit of wine for his health. So clearly drinking in itself isn't labeled as sin, but the Bible is clear about what? Drunkenness. Drunk is not considered okay by biblical standards.
It's not okay by, social standards.
All right. Ephesians 5:18 says, do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. In Proverbs 20 verse 1 calls wine a mocker. The danger isn't the drink itself, but it's what happens when we lose control.
And think about it, like certain with the liquors and all that stuff, they're called spirits.
Yeah,
What kind of spirits are you letting in, when you're drinking that stuff?
100%. When you have had too much to drink, you are completely out of control of your body. Many people black out. You lower your inhibitions.
100%.
So I know some people are like, well, I can relax, I can unwind and do whatever else, but you don't have control.
No, 100%. I remember when I was younger and I was drinking, I don't condone doing it, but that's exactly what happened. I didn't have control,
Yeah, I have a staggered past with alcohol, and I can honestly say that I have never drank and been like, man, this really worked out. I'm really glad I
Yeah,
had something to
100%.
drink the other side.
100%. It was always the opposite. I promise I'll never drink again. Just please get me out of this.
And for people like me that have had a past with alcohol, which I'm glad that God has rescued me from, and more like that, Paul reminds us in Romans 14 not to cause others to stumble.
100%.
So if you feel like having a drink in moderation, think about how it impacts. Sorry about that. What I'm saying is, if you feel like having an alcoholic drink in moderation, think about how it impacts the people around you. What if you're with someone who's recovering from alcoholism? Or what if you're with a younger believer who's looking to you as an example? What example do you want to set? So the question isn't just, is alcohol, let me try that again. So the question isn't just, is alcohol allowed, but is it wise? Is it loving? For some, abstaining completely is the best witness. But for others, having a glass of wine responsibly may not be an issue. I think I heard, actually, I'm going to quote Isaiah Saldivar again. I quoted him on tattoos. Now I'm going to steal his stuff on alcohol. I have heard him say, it is not a sin to drink alcohol, but it is also not wise.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah,
That's very smart. Now we're going to leave you guys with another question. Do you think Christians today should avoid alcohol altogether, or is it responsible to drink occasionally here and there? Okay. That's all up to you. There's no right or wrong answers. You guys debate that.
Yeah. Put your opinions below.
Definitely.
Please talk to us. It'll be fun. All right. So the next topic is a very, very hot topic. And depending on your denomination, you may have strong opinions leaning one way or the other. What are we going to talk about?
The big, scary one.
No.
That one's going to ruffle some feathers, step on big toes.
Some churches have women pastors and others don't. Why the difference? What do you think? This usually comes down to two key passages that people like to talk about. 1 Timothy 2, verse 12. Paul says, I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. What does that say?
I mean, if you just take that verse
if we
right
just take it
there,
like that,
super bad.
Women should not tell men anything.
Keep your mouth shut. You hear me?
But
Make a sandwich.
the Bible does not stop there.
No, it doesn't.
That is just the beginning. 1 Corinthians verse 14, in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 34 and 35, women are told to remain silent in churches. On the surface, that sounds pretty strict. Remember, Paul was writing to a specific audience. He was not speaking to churches in 2025 in America.
Yeah, and wasn't there back then like a hierarchy of stuff? He wasn't necessarily saying like, shut up, don't say a word. It's just there's different places, different hierarchies with men. That was the culture, the Jewish culture back then.
Yeah, I mean, again, on the surface, that sounds really strict.
Because how would Mary be part of the ministry if women were supposed to stay quiet?
Or Esther.
Exactly.
Or the woman at the well.
Or the woman at the well, but
Mary Magdalene, the first person to ever see Jesus.
Exactly.
I've heard some people get upset because the woman on the well's name was not mentioned in the Bible, but she still had a powerful testimony that, is one of the most moving stories in the Bible. We got to remember that back then, which, is similar to right now, but in different ways, churches were dealing with disorder and cultural issues. Yeah. There are a lot of scholars out there that believe these weren't universal commands, but they were situational instructions.
Yeah, because weren't some of the priests sleeping with women in the churches or like oracles and having all those? So it was crazy times back then. They were doing a lot of different things. Paul was just trying to be like, hey, yo, chill.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to talk a little bit about the other side. Throughout the Bible, we do see women in leadership. Deborah was a judge and a prophet. Sorry, man. I'm losing my voice. Again, Deborah was a judge and a prophetess. You could read Judges 4 to learn more about that. Priscilla, along with her husband Aquila, taught Apollos, who was a preacher. You can read more about that in Acts 18. Phoebe is called a deacon in Romans 16, verse 1. And who did Jesus, again, I said this, but who did Jesus choose to be the first witness of his resurrection? Mary Magdalene, a woman.
And at the time, it was not smart. Like when people try and say Christianity, it must be fake. No one would write in history that a woman saw Jesus.
No, that's like a good way to get people back then to
Not believe anything that you said. And that's who we believe.
Absolutely.
So
what do we do with this tension? Some hold a complementary view that men and women are equal in value, but have different roles, with pastoral leadership reserved for men, and others hold an egalitarian view that men and women are equal in both value and roles, and leadership should depend on gifting and not gender.
Agree.
You agree?
I mean, I need to do some more reading about it, but as I stand in this moment, I mean, I agree. I think time and place, but I don't think that there's a problem with women having leadership roles in churches and helping out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the best people in my life that have taught me a lot of things are all women. You know, like we said, Jesus chose Mary. It's not everybody thinks he had other women in his ministry. It's just the men were the ones out there that were going to have to take the brunt of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, most of the disciples were men, but Mary was along for the ride.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Mary Magdalene, but also his mother Mary played a very holy role.
There was a lot of Marys back then.
I'm not saying that I'm a Catholic, and but even if you're not a Catholic, which I'm not a Roman Catholic, but you have to believe that Mary was a faithful woman.
Yeah, and it doesn't, even if you're not a Catholic, it's still, you can still appreciate Mary for, being the mother of Jesus, and, Yeah,
absolutely. And sorry.
No.
At the end of the day, no matter which side of the debate you're on, I think your heart posture matters more than the debate. A church that stands together is better than a church that is divided. So please be focused more on your heart than whether a woman is leading.
Amen.
And I have a question for you guys in regards to this. How do you see women serving in your church? Do you think leadership should be about gender and not about gifting? Hey, there's some people in the back. You saw that? Yeah. Or do you think it should be dependent on your gender? So we've covered tattoos, alcohol, and women in ministry. These are 3 topics.
Probably going to get us in trouble.
I think we're fine. We are very respectful. They can definitely spark division if we're not careful. But the goal is to seek understanding and stand together and just have real honest conversations. When you're talking about biblical issues, there's main issues that determine a Christian. Like, did Jesus die and resurrect? And do you believe that? That is a main issue. A lot of these other things are secondary issues that don't matter as much, but still have their place. So it's great to talk about them. But I don't think your salvation depends on whether you have a tattoo, whether you have a drink before bed, or whether you believe that women have a role leading in the church.
Exactly.
Here's the bottom line. Our faith isn't about following a list of do's and don'ts. It's about loving God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving others as ourselves. You got anything in regards to that?
I mean, I think you said it pretty perfect yourself, We're all going to have differences. We're all going to have opinions. At the end of the day, we don't know who's right or who's wrong,
Just seek truth.
You just seek truth, and that's what Jesus provides.
So guys, before we go, my encouragement for you is this. Whenever you face a gray area or a hot topic, go back to scripture.
Always.
Ask, does this glorify God? Does this show love to others? Does this point people to Jesus? If your answer is no to any of those, you're off track.
Definitely.
Get on track. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know Tony would too.
Definitely. Hit the comments down, like the button.
Please let us know where you stand on these issues. Send us a message, leave a comment, or even check our email. And we'll share your thoughts in future episodes. We'll expand on anything you guys want to talk about.
We want this to be a community. We want everybody to get engaged and, talk and have discussions. We're all trying to live in this world, and we all got to, love each other and just talk to each other to make everything more peaceful and better.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in for episode number 1.
All right.
Until next time, keep pursuing truth, keep showing grace, and keep living boldly for Christ.
Peace.
Have a good night, guys. Or day, depending on when you're watching this.